Mr. Chair, it's my
Floor is yours.
understanding that the utility company, whether it's SDG&E or whether it's Edison, are going to be helping them in reference to providing the poles and possibly also the wire. But I think it's a matter of they're going to be helping them actually string those poles, put in the poles and string them. So I just wanted to add that. So it's a positive, and it may happen sooner rather than later.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Verdugo-Peralta, for the addition to that point. Mr. Bellica-Palan, would you like to proffer the motion? I believe everyone is in agreement with it.
Yes, I would. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in the matter of, again, United States Government, Department of Navy, case number 4518-10, I move that we grant an interim variance commencing August 2nd, which was the date of the ex parte hearing, and continuing for 90 days or until the notice hearing for the regular hearing, which is scheduled for October 17, 24, whichever occurs first, currently scheduled for that date, but whichever occurs first. And from the rules and subsection that has been identified as Rule 203B and 3002C1, and specifically condition C1.1 of the Title V permit. And the conditions of this equipment is located on the San Clemente Island. I think there's a, let me get, it's on the base. There is it's Navy Auxiliary Landing Field on San Clemente Island, San Clemente, California 92672. The conditions of the variance are as set forth in Exhibit 3, which is a revised proposed finding and decision document. So there was a underline and strikeout. So but I think you also referred to the revised as Exhibit 3.
Yes.
So the revised underline is in Exhibit 3 also.
Yes.
There was a separate document. There was, so that, and the number, and a little bit renumbered, of course, because a few items will be crossed out.
Okay, fair. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second the motion, sir.
Okay, it's been moved by Mr. Bellica-Palan, second by Ms. Verdugo-Peralta. Any further question or discussion on the motion? Dr. Abraham, your vote?
Aye.
Ms. Verdugo-Peralta?
Aye.
Mr. Bellica-Palan?
I just forgot to mention the excess emission as noted in the document, so.
Okay, let the record reflect, Madam Clerk, Mr. Bellica-Palan's addition of relative to the excess emissions. All right, Mr. Pearman.
Aye.
Ali, aye, the vote is unanimous. And this case will move forward to the next stage. All right, thank you very kindly. We're going to drop down to case number 137-81. This is SoCal AQMD petitioner versus SoCal Gas Company, facility 39097. Who's representing the executive office? Or executive officer?
Good morning. Josephine Lee on behalf of the executive officer.
Okay, and who's representing SoCal Gas?
Yes, this is Vincent Gonzalez, attorney for Southern California Gas Company.
Thank you very kindly. Madam Clerk, are there any individuals online desirous of providing any public comments / evidentiary testimony relative to this matter?
No one online.
Let the record reflect that no one has sought recognition to provide public comment or evidentiary testimony. All right, Ms. Lee, the floor is yours.
Mr. Chair, may I make one comment? This is Mr. Pearman.
Go right ahead, Mr.
I
Pearman.
mentioned from time to time, my Form 700 shows I own a minimal amount of stock in Sempra Energy, which is the parent, I believe, of Southern California Gas Company. That fact will not in any way affect my judgment in this matter.
Thank you very kindly, Mr. Pearman. All right, Counselor, representing the executive officer.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe we do have some exhibits. I don't know if the chair would like to mark them.
Yes,
At this
yes,
time?
yes. These exhibits will be, Exhibit 1 is the permit, Exhibit 2 is the chart, and then Exhibit 3, proposed findings and decisions for an order for a stipulated abatement. Is that correct, Counselor?
Yes, Chair, I just want to confirm, so Exhibit 1 was the
The permit?
permit number G8232. Exhibit
Yes.
2 is it the engine runtime log that was attached to the petition?
Yes, yes.
Great, thank you. And then Exhibit 3, I believe, are the NOx emissions that were also attached to the petition.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay, thank you. And then Exhibit 4 then would be the proposed findings and decision.
Okay, members of the board, have we noted that? Okay, we see heads are in agreement. All right, Ms. Lee, the floor is yours.
And I just want to make sure I'm confirming with Mr. Gonzalez. Did SoCalGas have any exhibits that they were planning to submit for today?
Yes, Southern California Gas Company, SoCalGas, has some exhibits that we would like to submit.
Now, was the district provided those exhibits prior to the meeting?
We did not share it with the district prior to today.
Okay, Ms. Lee, but you need time to review, or are you comfortable with proceeding forward?
I'm comfortable with proceeding forward, but once they're distributed, if the board would like some time to review, then we're agreeable to a brief break for that.
Perfect. All right, Mr. Gonzalez, would you please provide, how many exhibits do you have, my friend?
Well, I just learned that 2 of those exhibits are already submitted by the executive officer, so I will remove those. The remainder are 4 exhibits, including most of which are pictures of the facility and the equipment, and one of which is the calculation of excess emissions. So a total of 4 additional exhibits.
Okay, so yours would be AAA?
Sure, Exhibit A or Exhibit AA.
Okay, all right, so we'll go Exhibit A. And then that's pictures. And then what's the Exhibit B?
And then we have Exhibit A, Exhibit B, Exhibit C, Exhibit D. These are all pictures. And Exhibit E would be our emissions calculations.
Mr. Gonzalez, can you hand it, somebody hand
Yes.
it to the chair,
Sure.
to the clerk so she can provide us with, so we can mark it accordingly?
Thank you, Mr. Balakapalan. All right,
This is okay.
Sorry about that.
Sorry.
so members of the board, do we require time to review, or can you briefly review while we're in the midst of discussing, or they're presenting their opening arguments? Mr. Balakapalan?
Mr. Chair, I think if, Mr. Gonzalez, I think we'll go through them. I don't think we need to
Perfect.
review them. We need any time to review
Thank you.
them.
Thank you, thank you.
Especially if they're
I
just
agree with
pictures.
Mr. Balagopalan.
Okay, Ms. Lee?
Yes. Yes, no objection.
Okay, are you comfortable with, okay, you said no objection, no problem. Okay.
question, Mr. Chair. Did you want to mark the exhibits that are within the petition first and then mark the ones they just gave us this morning?
Well, we've already marked the ones in the petition. That's what Ms. Lee walked through. She walked through the various exhibits from the district side.
It's
There was
up to you, sir. I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that they have their exhibits marked with numbers versus letters. And I don't have the
Oh, I'm sorry,
motion.
you're referencing from the gas company side?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Well, so Ms. Lee referenced exhibits that are in the petition earlier. Are you referencing anything that's additional, in addition to from Southern California Gas Company?
Well, the exhibits,
So Ms.
those
Lee,
came from you, Miss Lee? The
yes,
exhibits within
those
the
are,
petition came from you?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
The three exhibits and then the proposed findings and decision.
Okay. It's up to you, Mr. Chair, if you want to separate them out and acknowledge them as they have as their exhibits, up to you.
right, but Ms. Lee already did that. She did that at the top of the, during her introduction. She's already
Okay.
noted. So Ms.
Okay,
Lee,
great.
are
Thank
you
you.
comfortable? Are you comfortable with the exhibits you initially tendered?
I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge them, that's all.
Yes.
Okay,
Which the chair, I'm sorry, the clerk of the boards has already acknowledged that.
okay, perfect. All right, Ms. Lee, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Ali, members of the board. Before you today is a stipulated order for abatement petition involving an emergency natural gas-fired internal combustion engine operated at respondent SoCalGas's Romoland facility, referred to as Ramona Base. In its petition, the district has alleged a permit violation under Rule 203B, specifically Condition 5 of the emergency generator permit number G8232, which was marked Exhibit 1, limits operation of the engine to no more than 200 hours per year, which includes no more than 50 hours for maintenance and testing purposes. As you will hear from respondents' witnesses, due to an unfortunate error and oversight from a SoCalGas employee who had turned on the generator for the monthly maintenance and testing purposes, the generator was inadvertently left on for 4 days. This incident spanned a weekend, and once discovered by staff, the generator was immediately turned off. As a result, the emergency generator operated a little over 46 hours above the permitted limit for maintenance and testing, though the total hours are still well below the 200-hour limit. As the facility will still require to conduct maintenance and testing through the end of the year, they will continue to be in violation of permit condition 5. And since the facility was responsible for this mistake, the parties have agreed to this order for abatement until compliance can be achieved in accordance with the proposed finding and decision marked Exhibit 4. I'd like to just request one correction be made to that exhibit. The first paragraph states that this was heard on the hearing board's consent calendar. We would ask to strike that as that is incorrect. The parties are in agreement on the emissions calculations. We did have a emissions calculations that was marked Exhibit 2, but a more detailed emissions calculation has been submitted by respondent marked Exhibit E. And so district staff has reviewed that, and they agree with those calculations. As respondents' witnesses can best lay out the factual background that led to this incident, as well as the emissions calculations. We believe it'd be most helpful to the board if respondent were allowed to present its witnesses first, and then we can have district witnesses available should the board have any remaining questions. We ask this hearing board to find good cause to grant the stipulated order for abatement according to the parties' proposed conditions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the hearing board. The respondent is SoCal Gas, a public utility engaged in the transmission and distribution of natural gas in Southern California. SoCal Gas's Ramona-based facility is a multi-purpose facility which serves as a home base to customer service employees, technicians, and specialists who provide natural gas service and emergency response to customers in the area. The facility has an emergency electrical generator that provides power to the facility in the event of a grid power outage. The generator is driven by a natural gas-fired internal combustion engine with a district permit to operate. The permit limits the engine's operation to no more than 200 hours a year, including 50 hours a year for maintenance and testing purposes. On Thursday, July 18, 2024, a facility employee turned on the equipment for maintenance and testing. The employee then left to check other equipment at the facility and to do other tasks at other facilities. When the employee returned to the facility on Monday, July 22nd, 2024, he was shocked to discover that the engine was still running. He immediately turned it off, checked the time meter to see how long it had been operating, and reported the incident to his supervisor. The supervisor confirmed the engine operated beyond its 50-hour limit. The supervisor also had the employee undergo additional training. SoCal Gas, however, still needs to operate the engine once a month till the end of this year for testing and maintenance purposes, about 5 more hours. In the future, to avoid operating the engine beyond its 50-hour annual limit for maintenance and testing, the facility is implementing 2 measures. First, it is instructing its employee not to leave the engine while it is being operated for testing and maintenance. And second, it is installing an audio-visual alarm that will be triggered when the engine is kept running for more than 30 minutes. SoCal Gas has 2 witnesses today testifying on its behalf. Its first witness is Yolanda Barnes, who is the support services facility manager responsible for the facility and the engine in question. Ms. Barnes will testify on the events leading up to the exceedance and on the measures to be taken to prevent its recurrence. SoCal Gas's second witness is Alma Hustis, who is its environmental services air quality lead, and she will testify on excess emissions. Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I just wanted one clarification, maybe from
Yes, sir.
the parties, why this was presented as a stipulated order abatement instead of a regular variance. We've seen many cases similar to this. I mean, not for running hours or maintenance, but running the runtime. So I'm just wondering why this was a stipulated order abatement instead of a regular variance.
Ms. Lee?
Sure, I can respond. And so one of the required findings for a regular variance or for a variance is that the circumstances were beyond the reasonable control of the petitioner seeking the variance. And after discussion and our evaluation of the facts that led to this incident, it was well within the facility's control if one of its employees had made an unfortunate error, but still within the facility's control that resulted in the violation. So this would typically be considered just a violation. And after discussion with the facility and actually upon the facility's request, we came forward with a stipulated order for abatement. Thank you.
All right, any additional questions? Mr. Balakapalan, are you good?
Yes, that clarifies why we are going this route.
Thank you, thank you. All right, folks, can we stand and raise our right hand? We're going to administer the oath to the 2 individuals as well as the AQMD potential testifiers. All right. Do you solemnly state under penalty of perjury that the evidence that you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, I hear that you all agree and I concur. Thank you. Mr. Gonzalez, the first witness is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first witness is Ms. Yolanda Barnes. Ms. Barnes, are you under oath?
Yes.
Could you please state your name and spell it for the record?
Yolanda Barnes, Yolanda Barnes.
For whom are you employed and what is your position?
SoCal Gas, and I'm the facility manager for support services.
How long have you held this position?
2 years.
And what are your responsibilities in this position?
It's like a property manager. I oversee the operations and maintenance of the building with the assistance of my facility mechanics.
What did you do before your current position?
I was a facility specialist with SoCal Gas in the corporate real estate department.
Ms. Barnes, do you recall reviewing the document that the petitioner, the district, entered as its Exhibit 1, which is the permit for the engine?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I apologize. That was the wrong. Scratch that. Mr. Chair,
Yes.
before proceeding, I would like to introduce and mark as Respondent's Exhibit A picture of the facility. And I believe that's been distributed earlier.
Yes, noted.
Okay, thank you. My apologies again. Ms. Barnes, can you please identify and describe for the record the document marked as Respondent's Exhibit A?
Yes, this is an aerial view of our base. And what you see there is the garage in the back. So the garage is facing to the east side of the building. The building's front is to the west. And where the generators are located is south of the building. So the office you see there will be north.
And is that an air conditioning unit or units next to the generator?
Yes, there are 3 air conditioning units right next to the generator, 2 in front and 1 on the side.
The emergency generator is driven by a natural gas-fired internal combustion engine. Isn't that correct?
Yes,
And is this engine subject to an air permit issued by petitioner?
yes.
Okay, Mr. Chair, this is where I would like to reference petitioner's Exhibit 1, which is the copy of the permit. Ms. Barnes, can you please identify and describe for the record the document marked as petitioner's Exhibit 1,
Which is the permit.
the permit?
Okay, I don't have a copy. Oh, I have it right here.
Okay.
Thank you.
And can you read for the record condition number 5 in the permit?
Yes. Number 5, this engine shall not be operated more than 200 hours in any 1 year, which includes no more than 50 hours in any 1 year for maintenance and testing purposes.
Is a facility employee responsible for inspecting and maintaining that engine?
Yes.
And does that employee report to you?
Yes, he does.
Ms. Barnes, can you tell us what happened on Thursday, July 18, 2024?
I was informed he arrived at the building after he made some deliveries around 10:30 to 10:40, and he immediately started his preventive maintenance on the building. He has to do that once a month. So he started with the generator. He turned the generator on, and he started with the other preventive maintenance equipment around the area. During that time, an employee came and pulled him away. They needed assistance in the building because the air conditioning unit wasn't working properly inside. So he went there to to see what was going on, and he was there longer than normal, trying to fix the situation. After that, he realized he was running out of time. He had to go to 2 other bases, Redlands first, because he's in charge of the keys for our entire for all of my bases in the region. So he went to Redlands first. Then he left there because he had overtime he had to do for our San Bernardino base. It's under construction right now. And our guys take turns during the overtime. So Thursday night was his turn. So he had to be there at a certain time. So he went there. And the next day he's off. And he's off on the weekends.
And what happened on Monday, July 22nd, 2024?
I was told he came in around 8 o'clock, and when he came to the building, he realized that he left the generator running. So he immediately parked the car, ran over, turned off the generator, and logged the hours in.
Did you determine how many hours the generator ran during this time?
After speaking with them, we saw that he ran over 46.4 hours.
Okay, Ms. Barnes, I'd like you to look at the petitioner's Exhibit 2, which is the operating log. Can you please identify what exhibit number 2 is?
This is the log that we use for our generator.
And can you walk us through the document and show, for example, how many hours total the engine was operated before July 18?
The last line before, this is June 3rd, 2024. It looks like it ran for the maintenance 3.3 hours.
Okay. And on July 22nd, after the engine was turned off, how many hours total was it operated?
For the maintenance hours, it's 93.1.
How many hours over 50 was the engine operated for?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I think I answered the question. 46.4 over.
Okay. What did you do immediately after learning that the engine exceeded its 50-hour annual limit for maintenance and testing?
I was called that day that he realized he had left it off after he spoke with our environmental rep, Kim Altman. And from there, he let me know what he had did. So I told him that we're going to schedule a one-on-one, which is the next day, Tuesday. And we're going to discuss mitigations that we have to do for this and what we're going to do for him.
Okay, Ms. Barnes, the engine was in operation all day Thursday and Friday, as well as all weekend. Isn't that correct?
Yes.
Did anyone at the facility notice that the engine was on?
Fortunately, no.
Is the emergency generator next to the facility's air conditioning units?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I would like to introduce and mark as respondents Exhibit B, set of photos showing the location of the emergency generator and air conditioning units.
Yes, sir. Noted.
Ms. Barnes, could you please walk us through the three photos, the photos on this page showing the emergency generator and the air conditioning units?
Yes. So photo 1, you would see this is in front of our base. This is the entrance gate. And the entrance gate is located south of the building. When you first go in there, on the left side will be the generator and the air conditioning unit, along with the trash cans that we have in front. And the number 2, as you go in, you can see the air conditioning units and the generator to the left. Picture number 3, you'll see it we're facing north now. There's the trash bins, and right behind the trash bins is the generator. Next to that is an air conditioning unit. Right in front of are 2 air conditioning units and a transponder unit in the back.
So the facility has 3 air conditioning units?
Correct.
And when these air conditioning units are on, are they very loud?
Well, it depends on loud. When we're next to it at 200 feet, you can hear both of them. For me, it's the same level of noise. If you are away, we are next to a UPS distribution center and across the street from a rental unit. So there's trucks going all day long. So between that noise and the noise of the air conditioner that runs 24/7, the noise is like a white noise in a medium level.
Okay, let me see if I can clarify. Are you saying that the emergency generator generates the same noise as the AC units?
The generator is typically a little louder, but if you are not used to that noise, you can't distinguish between the two. So for me, when I've heard it, it's a medium level to me. They sound the same.
Ms. Barnes, the facility is located in the Inland Empire, correct?
Yes.
And during the summer, isn't it warmer in the Inland Empire compared to other parts of LA County and Orange County?
Yes.
Do you recall between July 18 and July 22 whether there was a heat wave?
Yes, there was.
And were the facilities air conditioning units constantly operating during that time?
24/7.
Would you say, therefore, that during the time in question, the noise made by the emergency generator engine had not been heard over the noise made by the air conditioning units.
Correct.
Ms. Barnes, what steps does the facility plan to take to ensure that the engine is never operated again to exceed its 50-hour annual limit for maintenance and testing?
We installed a audio-visual alarm system along with a flashing light on top of the unit. So if this unit runs past 30 minutes, it will automatically go off.
Mr. Chair, I would like to introduce and mark as Respondents Exhibit C, a pair of photos of the emergency generator with the alarm.
Yes, sir, noted. As well as.
Ms. Barnes,
included-
could you please describe again for us what we're seeing in Exhibit E?
So photo one, you see the air conditioning units. You can't see the one in the back to the left, but there's two in front and there's one on the side. And then you see the generator along with the trash can. In photo number two, you see our generator with our new alarm system attached to the generator, with the flashing lights on top of it.
Okay, and will the employees, I assume the employees that would be outdoors could see and hear the alarm when it's triggered, is that correct?
Yes,
Will the employees indoors be able to see or hear the alarm when it's triggered?
yes, we have a transfer switch machine for the generator inside of our storeroom.
Okay, Mr. Chair, I would like to introduce and mark as Respondents Exhibit D, a set of photos of the emergency generator alarm system and timer indoors.
Noted.
Thank you. So Ms. Barnes, could you please describe again for us what we're seeing in Exhibit D?
Yes, the photo one to the left is our transfer switch. It powers to the generator, and you see the alarm was also placed on this one with a flashing light. And there is a timer that's in the back, and it's timed for 30 minutes. And I forgot to mention, on our alarm system, there is a manual switch to the right of it.
When the indoor alarm system, I understand it's installed in the store, will it be heard in the meeting room and the office?
Yes,
So to summarize, the facility installed an audio-visual alarm on the emergency generator that would be triggered if the emergency generator has been operated for over 30 minutes. Is that correct?
that's correct.
And that it could be heard and seen both outdoors and indoors?
Correct.
In addition to this alarm system, is the facility implementing another preventive measure to avoid exceeding the 50-hour limit?
Yes, so I've instructed not just to the employee at this base, but all of my facility mechanics. They have to sit in front of the generator for its entirety while they are running the machine. They are not to move until it's completed. So that means they cannot perform any other preventive maintenance, cannot be pulled away until this unit is completed with its maintenance testing. And I also had training for all of my guys. Actually, last Friday, I had additional training for the employee. And I also had the base. So the managers and our docs at the base came out. We showed them exactly how this unit works and what they need to do in case it goes off. So everybody's in agreement. They'll let their field employees know as well. And if they needed additional training, I just told them to let me know and we can arrange for additional training for them.
So to summarize,
We do.
thank you, Ms. Barnes. I have no further questions.
All right, Ms. Lee.
Yes, thank you. Just a couple clarifying questions. You had testified, Ms. Barnes, that the generator, as a result of the incident that started on July 18th, ran for 46.4 hours above the 50-hour permitted limit. Is that correct?
Correct.
And could you confirm again, what's the total cumulative hours for this generator as of today?
As of today, the total hours would be 96.8.
Thank you. And the permitted limit for the total operating hours is 200 hours, is that correct?
Correct.
And so has the facility ever in let's say the last 3 years, have they reached that 200 limit?
No, they haven't. We pulled the data on there and we verified that within the last 5 years that we've never ran over.
So at least at this point, from what we're seeing, it's unlikely that the engine will be exceeding that 200-hour total operating limit.
And that's correct.
Thank you. I have no further questions for this witness. Thank you.
Members of the board.
One
Mr. Fairman?
question, what is the normal run time for maintenance and testing purposes? If this person had done it right, about how long would he have run it for the maintenance and testing?
1 hour.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Mr.
Yes, Ms.
Palakapala?
Bunce.
Yes, sir.
Morning. Are they people in the office on the weekends?
It varies. It's a very small crew. It may be 2 or 3 people coming in. It's our field operators. They'll come in for customer service or distribution to do some paperwork in the morning, and then they would leave, and they won't return until like 2 or 3 at the end of their shift if they're working the weekends, but it varies.
So can you explain how the alarm works if there's a true emergency and the generator comes on? Would it shut off after half an hour because of the timer?
If there's an outage,
Yes.
and the alarm will go off past 30 minutes, but we have a manual alarm switch that we can turn off. So we have the number to our dispatch office and to me. And if this happens, we will be out there and we can call someone at the base and tell them just to turn the switch off on
So-
both inside and out.
So it does not automatically turn off after half an hour?
No.
But if there's nobody there because of the weekend, it'll continue to run?
It will continue to, someone will hear it because it's running outside. So we do have our neighbors, the UPS distribution center. I had an employee speak with the station manager, Eric Sims, and he has our number. And if he hears it, he will definitely call us to let us know. But we have a skeleton crew. There's people in and out. So someone will come in over the weekend and they will hear it. We just don't have a record of who comes in and out of the building over the weekend. It just varies. But there's always someone there, 1 or 2 people there. So there'll be someone there on the weekend, maybe 1 or 2, but they'll hear it.
Have you investigated any kind of remote monitoring system so that, it sends the data to an off?
That's in discussion.
Okay. Is that something that you may install?
It's an option. It could be one of the options. We're still in discussion about what we're going to do over and above what we've already done.
Okay. Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Verdugo Peralta?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In reference to the original person who forgot about or coming back, there's no backup person. He doesn't have an assistant that or a secondary employee that would have also been able to either check on this or hear it or whatever.
No. These are our facility mechanics. I have 37 sites. We're not assigned to this particular site. We're assigned to the HQ in Redlands. This particular employee has 6 sites, 1 unmanned, 1 branch office, and the remainder are bases. So they come in once a month to do their their monthly maintenance, preventive maintenance, and compliance maintenance. And if anything is wrong with the building, an air conditioning unit goes down, the toilet, overflows, they will get called and then they will come in. So there's no backup.
So that's not his point of where he reports to on a daily basis?
No, it's not.
Okay, he reports how many times a month? Just once a month?
No, it varies. It depends on what's going on at the station.
Okay, thank you.
Come.
Mr. Chair, I did have a follow-up
sir.
from Mr. Barnes.
Go right ahead.
Ms. Barnes, just again, hypothetically, let's say it occurs on a weekend, it's a real emergency, the generator comes on, and one of the employee or whoever's working that day hears the alarm. What step would he take? Because it could be an emergency, you don't want to manually turn it off. So what is the factor that he hears the alarm, he goes and turns the switch off when it shouldn't?
So
Because it's
there
emer-
there is a sign that's placed on the outside and inside that will have the dispatch number on it and my number on there. They immediately call for that. Part of our training was to talk about that. If anything happens, they hear anything with the generator going on, they are to immediately call us to let
Before
us know.
they,
Before they do anything, yes.
and if they cannot get hold of you,
No, dispatch is there 24/7.
7, okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Gonzalez?
Just one redirect question. Ms.
Go right
Barnes, just to
ahead.
clarify, the switch, the 30-minute switch that you're talking about is a switch to turn off the alarm, not the generator. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. No further questions.
All right, you have another witness?
Yes, I do. I'd like to call Ms. Alma Hustis.
Mr. Chair, may I make a comment before the next witness speaks?
Go right ahead, sir.
Only because it may, the parties may want to address my concerns and have the appropriate witness. The testing and maintenance only takes 1 hour. So the other 45.4 hours that this run was, in my view, not for maintenance and testing purposes. It was for no purpose at all. It was a mistake. Therefore, by my view, they never got close to 50 hours in a month. If you exclude that 96.4 they talked about, it should have been 1 hour of maintenance and testing. The rest was for no purpose at all. And since they're only at 96 or so, they wouldn't be near the 200 either. So in my view, there's no violation here at all. And I'm inclined to vote against the order. So if they have a witness, or either side has a witness who can perhaps convince me my interpretation is incorrect of how we should classify those 96.4 hours, I'd appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So Mr. Gonzalez, before you hear your next witness, Ms. Lee, would you like to respond to Mr. Pearman's comment, which could potentially add a little context?
Thank you. So yes, I would respectfully disagree. The intention of starting the generator was for maintenance and testing purposes. To interpret that if it goes above that hour, sometimes I imagine it can go above the hour. The hour isn't a fixed limit in the permit. It's a condition that we've agreed to, and that could give other facilities in other circumstances a way around these permit requirements, where if they do make this mistake, or maybe if it even is intentional, that they're still allowed to operate the engine for non-emergency purposes, which is really what the engine is there for. So respectfully, we do believe that there was an issue here. As this is a stipulated order for abatement, the board is not required to make a finding of violation. Excuse me. And so the conditions, again, we would just say that we have agreed to them. We believe that they will ensure minimal emissions. And we have a witness, though, if you would like us to address that question with further testimony. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Gonzalez, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to go ahead and call Ms. Hustis. Ms. Hustis, are you under oath?
Yes, I am.
Could you please state your name and spell it for the record?
My name is Alma Hustis, ALMAHEUSTIS.
For whom are you employed and what is your position?
I'm employed with SoCalGas and I am the Environmental Services Team Lead for Air Quality.
How long have you held this position?
I've held this position for 5 months.
And what are your responsibilities in this position?
In this position, my team and I are responsible for providing support for air quality permitting and compliance.
What did you do before your current position?
Before my current position, I worked at California Steel Industries as a senior environmental engineer, where I supported Title V and reclaim permitting and compliance.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, before proceeding, I'd like to introduce and mark as Respondents Exhibit E, a document showing excess emissions calculations.
Noted.
Thank you. Ms. Eustace, could you please identify and describe for the record a document in front of you marked as Respondents Exhibit E?
Yes, Exhibit E includes the excess emission calculations, includes the total runtime over that was discussed of 46.4 hours. It includes the engine's horsepower of 228 and some additional calculations for the criteria pollutants of NOx, CO, VOC, PM, and SOx.
Thank you. And did you personally do these calculations?
Yes.
Um, the exhibit also shows estimated NOx, CO, VOC, PM, and SOx emissions for an additional 5 hours. Isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Well, let's walk through the document and see how you made these calculations. How did you calculate excess NOx emissions?
Excess NOx emissions, what I did is I used the permit limit of 1.5 grams per brake horsepower per hour. I multiplied the horsepower of the engine of 228, and then I multiplied the total number of hours over the 50 hours, the 46.4 hours, and then converted the grams to pounds, so divided by 454 grams. So with that, I was able to get the total NOx pounds of 34.95 pounds.
And how did you calculate excess CO emissions?
Excess CO emissions were calculated similarly, except for the permit limit for that for CO is 2.0 grams per brake horsepower per hour, and I followed the same method and came up with 46.60 pounds.
How did you calculate excess VOC emissions?
So VOC has a permit limit of 1.5 grams per brake horsepower per hour, similar to NOx and CO, multiplied by the total horsepower of the engine, the total hours over 50, and then converted grams to pounds. So 34.95 pounds of VOC.
And how did you calculate excess PM emissions?
So for PM, there is no permit limit for PM. So what I did is I used the default annual emissions reporting value for that, which is 10 pounds per scuff, and that's a AQMD value. But for that, I needed fuel use. So we did not have fuel use for the engine. So what I did is I used, so in my experience, although the facility is not a reclaim facility, it's generally accepted to use reclaim calculations. So what I did is I used Rule 2012, Chapter 4, Equation 28, to figure out the maximum rated heat input capacity for the generator, which came out to 2.32 MMBTU per hour. And then I converted that to natural gas because the engine runs on natural gas to figure out the fuel flow by dividing by 1,050 MMBTU per scuff. And at that point, I use that value of scuff per hour to multiply by the total hours over 50, which equals 0.10 scuff. And then I could multiply by the emission factor of 10. So I got 1.03 pounds of PM.
And how did you calculate excess SOx emissions?
So similar to PM, because I don't have a permit limit, use the default AER value of 0.6 pounds per scuff for an internal combustion engines, and followed the same methodology as I did for PM and came up with 0.06 pounds.
Okay, thank you. If the internal combustion engine were operated 5 additional hours for maintenance and purposes, for the term of this abatement order, what will the emissions be for each of those pollutants?
So for calculating 5 hours additional, there's a line item for projected emissions on the exhibit. So for NOx, it would be 3.77 pounds. For CO, it would be 5.02 pounds. For VOCs, 3.77 pounds. For PM, 0.11 pounds. And for SOx, 0.01 pounds.
And did respondent provide a copy of these calculations to petitioner?
Yes.
And what did petitioner indicate to respondent about these calculations?
That there was no issues with the calculations and they were in agreement.
Thank you, Ms. Eustace. I have no further questions.
Ms. Lee on redirect, excuse me, cross, I apologize.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I have no questions for this witness, but I did have some additional response to the earlier question. I don't know if now is appropriate time or if I should just wait till after the board has had a chance to question this witness.
Yes, we'll take it after the board has had a chance to question this witness.
Thank
So
you.
members of the board, are there any questions of the gentle lady?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Mr. Eustace, what's the purpose of providing this excess emission calculation? There's no condition on the order to report emissions, pay fees, or anything like that. So what was the purpose in going through this and showing this calculation?
Just to show what what emissions would be going over the 50 hours of the permit limit. So considering the permit limit being 50, what additional emissions would be for those additional 46.4 hours. But just being forthwith with that information.
Okay. All right. And okay. You're not required to, I don't see anything in the condition to report this emissions or how many hours you operate, all right? Subsequently in the order. Is there any, oh no, I'm sorry. There is a condition to report the hours of emergency operation
Yes.
and maintenance. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any additional questions?
I just
Oh,
wanted to
and
make
Ms.
a comment that I commend them for doing all those calculations and making sure that we understood where they were at when they made that decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, the witness is hereby dismissed. Ms. Lee, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to redirect the board's attention to Exhibit 2 of the operating log, which SoCalGas's witness, Ms. Barnes, had reviewed. And based on the facts before us, the facility itself had marked the hours as maintenance and testing. This document has been explained by the witness. And so based on the records before us, this was maintenance and testing time. And so we go forth with that information to determine that the 50-hour limit was exceeded. Thank you.
Thank you very kindly. All right.
Mr. Chair, I
Mr.
assume that
Chairman?
was responding to
Sure.
my question, so
Yes,
I'll
sir.
just repeat. I find the counter authority to be unconvincing, so I'll probably still vote no. As Mr. Balakappan pointed out to me, for example, the definition, Rule 1472 of maintenance at subpart 13, maintenance and testing, and it clearly does not in any way imply it includes hours of accidental, erroneous running for maintenance and testing. And I think this whole thing has been a waste of time. And notwithstanding how the engine runtime log is stated, you have the testimony from them that it was a mistake. So there's no column for mistakes. So presumably that's why I didn't circle that in the run log sheet. So I think for future use, I think the district should be more creative and not waste our time on something like this when they're so far under even the 200 limit. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Closing arguments, Ms. Lee.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the board's what the board has asked, and it really was an effort to work with the facility upon their request for this case, and we have come to agreement on the conditions. We recognize that this hopefully won't happen again, and that preventative measures have been taken. So we respectfully request the board to find good cause to grant this stipulated order. Thank you.
Mr. Gonzalez.
Yes, I'd like to waive closing argument. Thank you.
Members of the board on deliberation.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, ma'am. Verdugo Peralta.
Yes, thank you. Well, in reference to Mr. Pearman's comment, I understand it. However, working with utilities for as many years as I have, I know that they would like to dot all the i's and cross all the t's, especially when it comes to something that is already written as a rule or written as a requirement of a condition, that they go even further on that. So I do agree with Ms. Lee that they did need to come before us. And well, Mr. Pearman's comment, I understand it for more efficiency, but in looking at the picture as a whole, I do believe that they did need to contact AQMD and they did need to have this process come before us. So in reference to that, I do believe that SoCal Gas has met the criteria in reference to good cause, especially when you see what detail they went to correct it and that it not happen again.
All right, any additional deliberation? Mr.
You know,
Pellet Capone.
Yes, I can relate to what happened because I have many a times left water run, boiling water for tea and had, or for eggs and forgot about it. And after I hear the eggs explode, I know that something has gone wrong. You know, so now I have a kettle which will whistle when I'm boiling water. But when I first saw this case, I had the same thing. Why are we here for a stipulated order abatement and it's not a regular variance if it exceeded the 50 hours? But I think Mr. Pearman brings up a valid point, and maintenance testing, if they are typically 1 hour, this was a mistake, no doubt about it, that they let it run, you know. So I too have. While the outcome, I think, while this was a good lesson for everybody, and they've taken preventive measures, and hopefully they'll look at a system to remotely, get the data, especially if they have various locations, and you cannot have operators all the time over there. So the outcome is great. I'm going to actually I'm going to agree with Mr. Pearman too. I think, looking at the definition in the rule 1470, I'm looking at, I think he looked at 1472, maintenance testing means operating in emergency to evaluate the ability of the engine to perform during an emergency, which is what they did. The continued operation was a mistake. It should have been shut off, but they actually, they didn't. I know it's sort of a. I don't think it was unintentional and mistake, and chalk it to that. They did not exceed the 200 hours. So I would agree with Mr. Pearman, that I don't think this is necessary. The order of superior order abatement.
So gentlemen, just let me add a little color to it. So are we saying that the order of abatement, we're finding failure on behalf of the parties to find or establish good cause? Or we're saying this is not needed at all? Because we have to have a motion laid up on the floor. So are we moving to deny the order of abatement because of a failure of the hearing board to find good cause, or what?
Well, I mean, I'm just one vote, so, but yeah, I would say that in my view, if my vote carried the day, you would deny the requested order of abatement because we can't find good cause for its issuance. Correct.
And if Mr. Pearman makes that motion, I will support that motion.
I would vote for, I would not vote for the order if it was presented that we did not need this, because I really do think that the district needed to acknowledge what they found, as well as going forward, that if they come back to us, if they do have emergencies, and they are going to go, it's a possibility that they may go beyond that 200 hours. And that's, I think, the major concern here is that they used up time that really wasn't intended for the purpose of that facility. And it was a mistake, yes, but it still happened. And we have to address, I think, the fact that those hours were misused, and that if they come before us again because they have exceeded those hours, if we don't establish something, whether it's a motion or whether it's acknowledgement of what happened by mistake, and those hours, are we going to discount those hours? Are we going to accept the fact that they were utilized, and that we have to take that into consideration should they come before us again because they did exceed it. And we will have a missing link there, if you will, of why it was exceeded because of the fact that those many hours went towards unintended purposes.
Mr. Perriman.
Just a couple of comments. First, the hours count, but they count towards the 200. So they're not going away because they were a mistake. And either position is reasonable. I stated my case, but I won't be offended, Mr. Chair, if I'm outvoted 3-2. But let's make a decision and move
Okay.
on.
Very well. In the matter of Southern California Gas Company Facility ID number 39097, case number 137-81, I move that we deny the request to order of abatement for failure of the board to find good cause. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Perriman. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing
Again,
none.
I can only
Go
reiterate
right
that I
ahead.
think this needs to be established and acknowledged. So I would be
Okay.
voting no on that.
And
Noted.
to Mr. Piven's point, they did not exceed the 200 hours, so so the testing was, as we heard from them, the normal testing is for 1 hour. So this was definitely a mistake. So I will support the motion.
Thank you very kindly. All right, Dr. Abraham, your vote?
Aye.
Verdugo Peralta. On the motion, your vote?
Yes,
Okay,
asking you.
no.
Okay. Mr. Palaka-Palau,
Yes.
Perriman,
Yes.
Ali votes aye. The vote is 4-1. This case is closed, and we are in adjournment at 10:44 a.m. Have a great day.